Hey, Craps Nation and YouTube. I just finished wrapping up part 3 of my OBS, KPI, Skype, NDI, etc., yada yada tutorial. And I wasn't going to record anything else, but I've got about an hour until Live Fantasy Craps starts, about a half an hour till setup, and I need to get set up. I just realized I don't have my OBS set up to provide a virtual camera to Skype. So if your only goal, if you're not interested in streaming, but you still participate in Fantasy Craps, and you want to combine, you want to process, add a watermark to your video, you want to zoom in on your table to make less work for George or whoever's hosting Live Fantasy Craps, or if you want to combine two cameras into a single feed like you see some people do, here's a quick tutorial. I'm just going to talk my way through this. I wasn't prepared to do this, so if I stumble and fumble, forgive me. All right, so back to the OBS that we're working with, and we just finished creating our couple of scenes for hosting Live Fantasy Craps, and we've got that done. What we need is a scene or a profile or something that we want to use while we're participating in Fantasy Craps, but not actually hosting it. So towards that end, we are going to create a new scene collection. And you can actually create a new scene down here, but it's going to clutter things up. And the more clutter you have, the more room for mistakes you create. So let's, oh, hey, we're untitled scene collection right now. So let's go ahead and rename this to LFC hosting. And then we are going to come back up to scene collection, and let's create a new scene collection. And let's call this LFC participant. LFC, not LVC. All right. And now we have a blank canvas to work with. Nothing to clutter us up. We don't have the KPI, and we can actually go ahead and close this KPI because we're not going to be using it. And let's see, you have just closed a dockable window. If you'd like to show it again, use to view, docks menu on blah, blah, blah. Let's not see that again. I don't need to see that because I know it. You might want to leave that reminder up until you get that, until it gets to a point where it's like, I know that. Then you can tell it, hey, don't show me again. All right. Once again, you may want to record. So let's go ahead and add our audio source, audio input capture. And again, I'm using a Bluetooth microphone. And the device is going to be my headset. Yep. All right, there's our audio. And again, I'm just going to fly through these filters for that. And we're going to add noise suppression. Okay. I'm going to add gain. Okay. We're going to add the limiter. And okay. And we're going to add the compressor. And okay. And the gain, I think I was doing about 3. And the limiter, I was thinking about, so I'm increasing my volume by 3 decibel, and then I'm going to, the limiter automatic by default limits by 6. I'm just going to limit it by 9. So I add 3 and then I take 3 away. And what that does is it boosts the volume from my headset, and then it decreases the volume when it sends it out into the feed. And the compressor does the same thing, but slightly different, taking care of the super highs and the super lows. So let's close. Now we have our audio source, and we see we're just barely tapping the red there. So we're good. All right, let's add our overhead camera. Video capture device. So maybe we have an overhead camera. And that's our HD camera. And again, I don't have any options on there because it's a cheap $20 camera. And on top of that, let's add a selfie cam. And in my case, it's a selfie cam. My USB cable is not long enough to mount my camera anywhere else. I don't do a multi-camera view on my table. Some of you do. And this is how you do that. So let's go add another camera, video capture device. And for you, this might be landing zone camera, that might be um, shooter grip camera or shooting station camera, so everybody can see your grip and your toss. Whatever your camera angles are, name them appropriately so you can look in here and see and know exactly what they are without thinking about it. So there's our selfie cam. We'll add that. And this is an even cheaper camera. Actually, it's about $10 more, but this camera sucks butt. I don't like it. It's a generic no name, just like the other one. But the color on it is horrible. I don't like it. And sometimes I get scan lines from my LED lighting. And even though I call it a selfie cam, you can see my hair. I'm just going to leave that angle there and do that. Now let's say that you've got this actually pointing at your landing zone. So you can come in here and do a transform. We'll edit the transform, rotate. We can rotate that sucker 90 degrees, close. We'll bring that, snap it in there. And there's our landing zone camera. However you want to set your cameras up, your feed, what you see is what you stream, even if you're going into Skype. Now, let's say you want to add a watermark. So if you've got your own YouTube channel and you've created some logos and some artwork, you might want to add that to your feed just for some self-promotion purposes. So let's go in, we'll do, what is it, image. And we'll call it watermark. And image file, let's browse. Where do I have these stored? Pictures, 0.7 out. Wait, did I have that somewhere else too? Hey, PSO watermark transparent. So it's got a transparent background. That's not working. Why is that not working? I don't know. Let's try a different one. I think I did one where I've got to do, let's see what that one does. That's better. That's actually transparent. How about that? So we'll hit OK on that. And let's bring this down here into the corner. Resize it to where we like it. Maybe kick it out from the borders a little bit in case George decides to crop some. And there we go. Now, in my case, let's do this reset transform because I don't want that there. Reset transformation. There's the selfie cam. Let's make that smaller. Go from there. And this main camera, I really don't need all that. So we can actually zoom this out a little bit because I don't need to show my chips and all that. I don't need to show my keyboard. Can't really cut my mouse out too much, but that should work. So once again, what you see is what you stream. And we can do that. And let's go ahead and make this. There we go. That way I'm not blocking off my 4. And there we go. And so now you're setting off your other camera, your secondary camera. You can have a third camera. Lay it out so that it works for you. This is going to work for me. I'm not actually going to use this camera. But I do want to show you one other thing. And we are going to take the overhead camera. We're going to copy it. We're going to paste a reference to it. Take that reference. We're going to group it. And we're just going to call it a dice zoom. And what I'm doing here on the dice zoom is we are going to do, let me see if I've got this. I think I'm going to add a filter plus, we're going to do an image mask / blend. And this is kind of a cool thing here. I need to browse for a file. I don't know where I've got this at. Nope, right there, circle. And some of these things we'll get to in a later tutorial, but this circle right here, you see it's going to focus right there. We want to change the type. Instead of the alpha mask, we're going to do an alpha mask with the color channel. We're doing the alpha mask with the alpha channel. And this depends on how you create your transparent image. So that was a black circle and a white background, but the white was set to transparent. We want to ignore anything in white. So let's go ahead and close that. That filter is done. And right now it is still full screen, so we can't see it. So what do we do here? Let's do this. And I'm going to want this somewhere in here, maybe a little bit smaller. Let's do there. I always like to set my dice right about there. And now we want to add another filter to that. This time we're going to add a crop filter. Okay, and I think that needs to be at the top. And for the left, we need to come over left quite a ways. Let's try to start at 1000. That's a good start. Top 200 is a good start. Right 400 is a good start. Bottom 400 is a good start. Let's kick that up to 500. That looks good. Right a little bit more, 500. Top is going to be a little bit more, 400 maybe. It's a little bit much. Let's start at 350. And that's about where I put my dice. So now I'm fine tune that and get rid of as many of those layout lines as I can. And you just got to keep going and going and going until you get to where you want to be. That should work fairly well. Let me throw a pair of dice out there. You can see what it is that I am doing. So when I roll my dice and I set them right there, it gives a little bit of a zoom window so people can see, hey, what is it that he rolled? And it's a nice little extra. I don't know if anybody actually cares because I do my best to call them out. I also put my entries in the KPI, but having a little zoom window is kind of nice. So let's close that. And there's my dice. Let me get rid of my overhead camera for a moment. Oh, that made that really small, didn't it? Let's see here. Let's reset transform. Why that is that wide, I don't know. That's okay. We can leave it just that big. Turn our overhead camera back on. Why is that transformed like that? Edit, position, size, 100 by 100, close. I have no idea why it's doing that. That's okay. It's just we'll leave that alone. So there it is, just a slight zoom. So there's the dice without, there's the dice with. It's not a huge zoom, but it's something, and presumably it helps for people looking on smaller screens, and it doesn't really detract or take away from the rest of the table. So when I roll those dice out, There's a hard 8. And you can see, I move it in. I do have a stick here somewhere, but my table is too small for the stick. I got the smallest stick I could find, and it's still too small or too big. But the hands work just fine on that on a small table. All right, so we've got our everything here is set up, ready to go. Now all we have to do is start our virtual camera. Virtual camera is running. We got Skype. Skype is set to use the virtual camera. So once again, I can call myself, maybe, video call. Accept that. Mute that. We're going to mute that. And Skype is going to show you selfie mode. It reverses everything. I have not yet found a setting to change that. I am terribly sorry. You're just going to have to accept it. And then when the other side sends some video out, there you go. Let's switch that camera. And so Skype will show you video from George and other people on the call, and that video will be straight. It will show you exactly what it's supposed to show you in the correct orientation. So don't worry too much about what you're sending. It will be correct. Hey, look at all them purple chips and pumpkins. Maybe I can win me a few of those today. But there you go. Quick and dirty tutorial on setting up OBS virtual camera with Skype for live fantasy craps. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. If you have any tips or tricks or things that you do with OBS and the virtual camera and Skype to make your experience more enjoyable, let me know down in the comments. I might incorporate it into a future tutorial. Might even bring you in as a guest so we can actually check out your setup. I don't know. We will. Let's see, I got about 10 minutes until setup for live virtual craps, live fantasy craps today. I got to jump off of here. We will see you in the game.